Okay, well, it is 12:02, so why don't we go ahead and get started? I feel like I need to reintroduce myself. It's been a long time since we've had one of these calls, but thank you for joining us today, everybody, and happy 2021, I suppose. So I don't have a ton today, but just a couple of things for us to go over. Just as a reminder, my email address. And the reason that we are hosting these calls is, again, to give you all as local area leadership a chance to connect with our team here at IWD, connect with each other, and do some peer-to-peer learning, and just really have a chance for us to exchange ideas. So hopefully these are still helpful for everybody. Today's quick updates are the things that we're going to go over. I have a couple of updates for you on local area performance negotiations, as well as training for new CEOs. And then want to talk briefly about the local planning guidance that was sent out last week. So we will cover those topics, and then anything else anybody would like to bring up today. And just as a quick reminder, throughout the call, this is very informal. You can unpause, unmute yourself and ask me a question at any time, or type it into the chat box, however you're comfortable. So just as a reminder, this is our list of key tasks for the local workforce development boards really to be tackling in the upcoming months. And one thing that I did update was the date for completing local area performance negotiations. So you can see that says spring 2022, which is over a year away. So that's good news. And again, I'll give you more details about that when we dive into that topic today. The local plan, again, is also going to be due on January 1st of 2022, which is less than 1 year away from today. That seems like really far away, but it's not. And so we'll also discuss the need for you to start working on your local plans today. And the rest of those dates have stayed the same. So let me dive into our first updates. Okay, so let's talk about the local area performance negotiations. If you will remember, back in, I think, early November, I had laid out a plan for you all about how we would complete local area performance negotiations. And just as a quick reminder, WIOA establishes 6 key performance indicators that are consistent across all of the core programs. So Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV, we're all reporting out that on the same performance measures to our federal partners at the state level. And those performance measures are things like employment rate second quarter after exit, employment rate fourth quarter after exit, median earnings of participants second quarter after exit. I'm not going to be able to name them all off the top of my head right now. But so those key performance indicators are established by WIOA, and we have to report out on them. So as a state, we go through a performance negotiations with the federal level at the Department of Labor every 2 years as a part of the state planning cycle. So that was done last May. In May of 2020, we completed performance negotiations for program year 20 and program year 21. Once those state performance negotiations are completed, we as a state agency responsible for administering Title I and Title III are supposed to turn around and do local area performance negotiations with each of the 9 local boards and CEOs. This is not a simple process to go through, and you really have to have historical data to use to be able to do that successfully. Obviously, with the change in local areas on July 1st, for program year 20, we don't have that historical data, and we have a lot of other challenges that we're working through as a part of this system transformation for us to be able to successfully complete this negotiations process. So I have been working with the Department of Labor to push back us needing to do these negotiations because there are just more important things for you all to be focusing on right now. So I was able to finally have a meeting with DOL again yesterday, and they were very helpful in letting me know that Iowa will not be required to do local area performance negotiations until we need to do them for program years 2022 and 2023. So we negotiate 2 years at a time. So that will take place next spring of 2022. So that's great news. That's something that will be off of everyone's table for now, as we have, again, more important tasks to sort of focus on. So what we will do is the state negotiated rates will be applied to all local areas. So the state and the local areas will all have the same negotiated rates for those goals. I'm just telling you about that today on today's call, but I will also be sending out a formal email letting you all know that that's what the process will be for our program year 20 and our program year 2021 performance levels. That makes a lot of sense, especially for program year 21, because program year 21 is already halfway over. So it's difficult to, retroactively negotiate a performance goal for program year 20. So, and then program year 21 will be starting on July 1st. So that is great news. So I think at that call in November, we had set up a schedule. We had talked about how we were going to put calendar invites on for training for how to do negotiations in January, and we were going to have the actual negotiations in February. So none of that is going to happen anymore. So if you're wondering where those invites are, don't worry about them. They're not coming. And we will do plenty of education for all you as local areas prior to us actually completing the negotiations with you next spring. So I will pause there and see if anybody has any questions before I move on. Okay. The next thing I just want to give you a refresher about and a reminder about is the new CEO training. So I know that typically on January 4th, all of the county boards of supervisors met, and hopefully within that week have, reassigned supervisors to the different committees and areas that they need to oversee in their role. And I have that list. It looks like we have about 25 new CEOs that are going to be joining workforce and overseeing workforce for their counties. So I am going to be sending out next week an invitation to all 25 new CEOs for orientation training, whatever you want to call it, on February 22nd in the afternoon. And that training is really designed to provide an overview of their roles and responsibilities as CEOs as it relates to workforce. And then also I will review with them all of the resources that are available, the previously recorded trainings and guides, and just all the things that are available for them to help them out. There is actually quite a bit of responsibility on the local board to onboard those CEOs as well. And so I have already communicated out a list of required information that the local area themselves should be providing to the new CEOs and helping them get oriented to. Things like the shared liability agreements and all of those types of things that are local documents that you'll want to share for those new CEOs. So that really is designed for the brand new CEOs, but I suppose any existing CEOs that feel like they want to hear some of that stuff again are more than welcome to attend. So you can just reach out and let me know if you want to receive that invitation. So, and then did somebody have a question?
Well, Michelle, this is Jim.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to. I think if you could send it out to all the CEOs, that would be great.
Okay.
Just if we get an opportunity to jump on, we could. But it's always kind of good to have a refresher.
Okay.
And then I don't know if Heather Garcia is on. I don't see Miranda Swafford on, but Miranda and Heather put on another great training for us. In person, and then it was in person and online last week down in Burlington, and it was their presentations that they gave, and then the people that they had present were just very good for me to sit there and listen to it again and get a better understanding of what role each person does for our workforce development. So that's something that I don't know if you want to do it in that one, but and like I said, I think Heather's on, but Heather and Miranda, and they've been doing such a great job for their two workforce areas that they're always, I think they're just a step ahead trying to get information out to us. So
great.
I think they would be a great resource for you to kind of reach out to kind of, we had a couple of new people down at our meeting, and then they were really impressed on how they were brought up to speed. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I was not aware of that, which is great. I think that this is sort of the nature of this process that we're going through, right? Is that a lot of this stuff ends up shifting to the local areas to kind of, be in charge of. And so, yeah, that's absolutely great. And, our role as the state agency with the oversight of the programs is to provide technical assistance when it's needed. And so we will continue to do that, but you know, yeah, the more people can hear these things, I agree, the more it sticks. So that's great.
And thanks for the plug, Jim. I am on, and we are happy to do whatever you need us to, Michelle. Just let us know.
Yeah, this, like I said, this will be pretty much an overview training. It's not going to be 4 hours of in-depth roles and responsibilities like you all received our first go around, right? But hopefully enough to get their feet wet and get them to understand how they need to fit in with the local area. And then you all kind of take it and run with it and how you do things in your local area. So the last thing I just wanted to point out was that several of the board staff have reached out to me regarding Title II monitoring reports that you might have received recently. And so just as a quick reminder, Title II is the Adult Education and Literacy Core Program under WIOA. And the state agency, Department of Education, that oversees that recently released monitoring reports. And all 9 local areas, I believe, or all 9, well, never mind. I don't know how many adult education providers there are, probably more than 9 across the state. Anyway, they all had the same findings. And one of those findings was in relation to not having compliant MOUs and IFAs. And so several of you have reached out to me in regards to how you can help your Title II providers in your areas respond to that finding, which is great. That is exactly you know, what you're supposed to do. And so I reached out to Alex Harris, who is over the Title II program at the state level at Department of Education, and just kind of chatted with him about it. And so I just want to let you know that, you know, they are also aware, because Alex is a part of the core partner group that all of the core partner programs work together on. And he's very well aware that there are not policies yet for how to do a fully compliant MOU that includes an infrastructure funding agreement or an IFA, because we're still working on developing that as a core partner group. So the answer that needs to be provided and that will be acceptable for those reports is just that, you know, you're working on it. You're waiting for guidance from the state. And as soon as you receive that guidance, you will work with your partners to create those compliant documents. So I just wanted, this was a great time to point that out and let everybody know in case they haven't received that yet or haven't had a chance to dig into how to respond to that. So, you know, the reason that the finding comes along, even though we know you can't do it yet, right, is that when monitoring happens, you know, we have to document those things as a part of the monitoring, even though we know that you can't necessarily respond right away, and that's okay. So you just let them know you're working on it and you'll be fine. So, okay, let me get to my next section. So for the next section, we just really wanted to point out that local planning guidance has been distributed. It was sent out by me on Friday, the 15th, so last Friday. I emailed it directly to board chairs and board staff, and then I've asked them to forward that on to all other board members, CEOs, the partner program staff that will be assisting with the local plan, anybody in your local area that needs to be a part of that process. You should be forwarding that information on to. And so there is local planning policy that was approved by the State Workforce Development Board last fall. And again, those are jointly issued policies between the WIOA core programs, titles 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the state level. And so what we did was we took that policy and we added additional guidance and a template that will hopefully assist you in developing your local plans. And so today I just wanted to take a couple minutes to talk through that with you and let you understand the other additional supports that we're going to be providing in this process, because it is not an easy lift by any means. So, you know, the purpose of the local plan is really to outline how you as a local board are going to develop, align, and integrate your service delivery strategies across all of the programs in your area. So it really becomes the blueprint for how workforce services are provided in your local area. By law, this is a document that should be developed by the board and in partnership with the CEOs. You know, in partnership is up to interpretation locally. So you can decide how, you know, in depth that partnership goes. If the CEOs just give final approval, if they're truly involved in writing the plan, you know, whatever makes the most sense for you locally. The other piece of the local plan is that it has to be aligned with the state plan. So the state is required every 4 years to write we do what's called a unified state plan, which pulls together those core partner agencies. It's a document that is driven by the State Workforce Development Board, and again, is the blueprint for what workforce service and the workforce system in the state should look like. How we should deliver services, what are our priorities, what are our goals, how are we going to serve people and businesses. All of those things should be laid out in that state plan. So your local plan has to be aligned with the goals of the state plan. And so that'll be an important document for you all to use when you're writing your local plan. And then you also have to provide an opportunity for public comment. By law, that's a 30-day public comment period. So, that's going to take some time. And so you really do have to get working on those. And I'm just going to switch really quickly into that guidance, just to kind of give you a brief example. So it's a document that has some background information. It also includes the state of Iowa workforce vision and strategies pulled from the state plan to help you understand those pieces that you really need to be aligning with. And there's a section about the timeline and submission requirements. So let's just take a pause to go over this for a second. As I mentioned on the chart before, the due date, the effective date for the local plans will be July 1st of 2022. So when we back into that date, that means that your plans will be due to the state by October 1st of 2021. By law, we have a 90-day review period to take those submissions, review them, make sure that they're compliant, and then they become effective January 1st. So all state plans will be due to the state no later than October 1st of 2021. So if a local area was planning to submit to the state on October 1st, we would suggest that you have a public comment period that starts August 13th, which gives you a full month, 30-day period of time for public comment. You're also required to respond to all of those public comments and submit the public comments as a part of the local plan. So you need to give yourself a couple of weeks after the plan comes down from public comment to be able to finalize comments, make any final revisions to your plan and finalize it. Most likely have your local board vote to approve the draft that is submitted to the state and all of those things. So when you start backing in, it's January, yes, but August 13th is going to approach very quickly. We're about 6 months away from that, right? And these plans typically, I just did a quick WIOA, a search for WIOA local plans this morning. And I think that the least amount of pages I saw in a state plan was about 50 pages, plus a whole bunch of attachments. So again, not an easy lift. This will take time. There's a lot of research that goes into it and all of those things. So then further into this guidance, you have the contents, and the plan is broken down into 3 sections. There's an infrastructure section. Then you get into section 2, which is strategic planning elements. You really, in this section, are analyzing the economic conditions of your local area using research and data from labor market information and all sorts of things, analyzing what the workforce needs in your local area, because what training education is available. And you do all of that analysis up front to understand what's available in your area, what needs are there in your local area. And then that analysis should drive how you design services in your local area to make sure that you're training people in in-demand industry sectors in your area, for example, and that the skills that the businesses say they need are the skills that you're providing through the training available in your area, all of those types of things. And then you get into section 3, which is the big section about the workforce system coordination. This is the section, I believe it has about 20 questions in it, where you're really going to define how you provide services. And so then what this template becomes is really an outline for you. All of these questions in black, you'll have to provide narrative answers to. And again, I think when you get through the three sections of the plan, you're talking about 25 to 30 questions that have to be answered in detail. So again, I'm providing this detail to you all to stress how important this is that the local boards start working on this probably as soon as possible. So let me switch back over to my PowerPoint here. Okay, this will just take a second. My computer's being very slow this morning. I guess it's this afternoon, isn't it?
Maybe it's you.
Maybe. Okay, so let's just talk about the timeline of the local plan. So typically, the local plans are written for 4 years, and then you're required to do a modification at the 2-year interval. This is the same planning cycle that the state plan follows. So currently, we are in a state planning cycle that started 2020 and runs through 2023. So the most recent version of the state plan became effective this past July 1st on July 1 of 2020. So we were authoring it through 2019 into the spring of 2020 when we had to submit it to the Department of Labor on March 1st of 2020, and it became effective July 1st of 2020. And so in 2 years, so 2022, we'll be doing a modification to that plan, updating data, updating information, updating strategies if things have changed, all of those things, right? And which is interesting because we authored that plan before anybody had ever heard the term coronavirus. And we submitted that plan before, anything major with coronavirus had happened. So I would venture to guess at 2 years, we will have some changes that we'll need to make because the environment that we're operating in, it will be much different than what it was when we initially authored the plan. And then that after that 2-year modification, that modified version is good for 2 years. And then beginning again before program year 24 starts. And so, towards the end of program year 2023, we'll begin a new 4-year state plan that will go from 2024 through 2027. So what we want to do is get the local plans caught up to that same state planning cycle. And because of the system alignment and the system transformation, we're a little bit farther behind, which is okay. This plan has been approved by the Department of Labor. They're okay with this planning process that we're going to go through. So when you start working on your local plans, hopefully soon, and they become effective July 1, they'll become effective January 1st of 2022. Typically, from January to by July 1 of 2022, the 2-year modifications would be due, right? But your plan will have only been in place for a couple of months when you would start working on a modification. So what we're going to do is essentially this first plan that you make will be a 2.5-year plan. So it'll go from January 1 of 2022 through June 30 of 2023 or 2024, excuse me. And before that 2.5-year plan is getting ready to end, the next time you write a plan, which would be due to the state in the spring of 2024, you will write a 4-year local plan. And we will be caught up to the regular 4-year state planning cycle, and all will be right in our WIOA world. So I think that that's a great way for us to tackle this first time around. We're also, hopeful that as the core partner agencies, we've provided you enough time to really make strategic and effective local plans before they're due to us on October 1st. The other thing that I just want to point out as it relates to local plans is that I am being very, I don't know if you guys have noticed this from the very get-go of us doing the training for the system transformation, but I try to be very intentional on using the word local area instead of region. And I know that in the past, people have called you, region 11 or region 10 or whatever it may be. But there is a difference between a region and a local area under WIOA. And you all are not regions. You are local workforce development areas who will be writing a local plan. Eventually, in the state of Iowa, we will look to regions. And when there are regions, there is a component where you have to individually make a local plan for your individual local area. But then a region would be, let's say a region would be, we take East Central Iowa, Mississippi Valley, and South Central Iowa, and we mush them together into a region. So there would be 3 local plans required and 1 regional plan for that, let's call it the Southeast Iowa Workforce Development Region. Does that make sense? So there would really be 2 plans required of all of you. We are not doing regional plans. We are doing local plans. So you don't have to worry about any regional planning language that you would see in any guidance or regulations or law if you're doing your own research. And so the other thing that we are going to be doing is providing some ongoing training for this local plan development. And the first training will be on February 9th. Invitation to a Zoom meeting was included in the guidance email that I sent out last Friday. So anybody is welcome to attend. I would highly recommend that the board staff are there, assuming the board staff are the ones who probably truly author the plan based on the way that the local board dictates to them that that's done. The board chairs, all of the partners in the local area, the leadership of the partner programs that are going to help to author the plan. Anybody is welcome, but those are the people I would really stress that attend that training. At that first training, we're going to really go into a more in-depth overview of what I've just sort of given you today. And then we will also plan to host a training in March for labor market information. And so that will be put on by our LMI department. They will show you where to access the labor market information, how to manipulate it, how to really dig into it and do some analysis of your own local area's data. And then later on in the summer, in July, we will provide a training for how to submit the local plans, because they will be submitted in the iowogrants.gov system, which is its own unique set of challenges. So there will be a complete training on how that needs to happen. So we're really excited about the guidance that we are, as core partners, are going to be providing and really give you as much information and help as we can. But I also would like to stress that this is a local plan and it does need to be authored locally. So beyond giving these trainings and technical assistance, we will not be writing the plan for you. And I don't think you want us to. So I think that that's a good thing. And so, but also we're always available to answer questions if anybody has any. So I think, let me click on my next slide. Yep, that was my last slide about that. So any questions related to the local plan?
Michelle, this is Jim again. Not really a question. I just want to make a comment. So I see you're going to have training on February 9th. Just for future, most board of supervisors, like right now, we are like buried in budget meetings. So basically through the end of January, and then sometimes those will roll over into that first week of February. So this is basically the second week of February. So just so you know and understand that kind of our processes, it's very difficult to get meetings and get out. We typically give our calendars to our auditors or our budget directors or whatever, and form those budget meetings. So this time of year, just for future, like a February 15th or later would be better times for supervisors to be available for meetings. So it's just a comment.
Yeah. Okay. And we will record the training, Jim, and I appreciate that. And I'm sorry that, we weren't thinking about the supervisor schedules and knowing how busy you guys are right now. We are trying to get this training out as quickly as possible, because I can't stress enough how important it's going to be for the boards to start this process. So we don't want to delay the training, at all. So that people have as much time as possible. And I know that this might not be a popular comment, but I know I can be truthful to you, Jim, in that, the CEOs are not a part of the local workforce development board, right? So the board has this responsibility in creating this plan and absolutely consulting with you as CEOs and in whatever that process looks like locally. So I don't think it's a big deal if CEOs can't attend this training. I think that that's why you also have staff to the board to do these types of things for you and bring you back the important information and all of those things. So I think that it'll work out okay. And as always, we are gonna actually make some tweaks to the State Workforce Development Board website where we've been posting all the CEO stuff. We're going to start posting all of this stuff out there as well, so that it's all centrally located for everyone to access, and the training will be available, and everyone should be able to get the information that's needed. So But yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And the other thing too, Jim, is as we go through this process, you know, because of the transition and the sort of catch-up game that we're doing right now to get all these compliant pieces in place, they're happening at weird times of the year, right? Technically, most of this stuff going forward won't be happening after the first of the calendar year. We will operate more on that program year cycle, which runs July 1 through June 30, right? So just for the sake of talking about, you know, responsibilities and calendars and things, I think that, and I'm just pulling this on the fly here, so I might not be completely accurate, but the busy time for local workforce development boards and CEOs and things to be doing those tasks typically will be that late spring into summer period of time leading up to a new program year. That's when budgets are going to need to be developed and all of those types of things. So again, as we work through these first initial go rounds, we will work those kinks out, and that time frame of when we really do things or are needing to do things will shift as well. So I think that will work itself out in the long run too. Okay, that is all I had planned to talk about today. Does anybody have any other questions that or thoughts or comments that we want to talk about today?
Since I'm still the only one that seems to be talking, I see Mike Witt is on. Has there been any more direction at all from the governor on opening up of workforce, the centers at all, or not?
Jim, not since we've talked. I don't know if you watched her recent press conference. That there wasn't really anything mentioned about the proclamation that's in place during that conference. It was all about the vaccine rollout and things like that, but not since we've talked.
Okay, thank you. I've kind of shut off anything related to government and news.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm kidding.
You couldn't possibly be burnt out on any of that.
I love it.
How could anybody?
Yeah. She had her press
conference for Netflix.
Yeah, her press conference was yesterday, and it was pretty much to update Iowa on the rollout of the vaccine.
So I forgot to add a slide that had next steps for this one, so I apologize. I do have a couple things that I just want to put on your radar, things that I'm working on with Mayor and our team at IWD and the core partner group as well. So one of the things that I know you've been asking for is the one-stop operator procurement. So I'm going to be getting that done. I'm not going to say a date because every time I do that, I never can stick to it, but very soon, and I'll get that out to you. And I just want to reassure you all that I'm not going to give you guidance on one-stop operator procurement and then tell you have 2 weeks to do it. I understand that you need time, and we will continue to work with you. So please don't stress. We will get the guidance to you as soon as we can, and then give you plenty of time to get that completed. So additionally, the current MOUs were basically extensions of existing MOUs from last year, which were extensions from the existing one the previous year. And we really need to get away from that, especially for those local areas that have combined and are trying to operate off of maybe 3 different MOUs right now. So as a core partner group, because that is policy that's not just issued by IWD Title I, but all of the core partners, we are very well aware of that and the need to have new MOUs in place for July 1st. So that's the next thing that we as a group are tackling is there is MOU policy that has been published and approved by the State Workforce Development Board, but we plan to issue guidance similar to what we did for the local plan. So that you can tackle getting compliant MOUs in place for July 1st. We know that is also a lengthy process, and so we want to have that out to you hopefully by the end of February, so you have several months to work on that and get new MOUs in place. Now, I will say that will just be the MOU piece. It will not include the infrastructure funding agreement, which technically is a part of a compliant MOU. But that policy is still being developed by the core partner group. And I think I've said it again, and I will continue to say it. It is the worst part of the policy development and the hardest part to accomplish. So we want you guys to be able to have MOUs in place so that you have all of the partners in place to work with you in your systems in your local areas. And then we will continue to develop the IFAPs to go along with that at some point. And then the other thing that I'm working on with Mayor is providing some training specific to the local board chairs and staff. We're really working on designing a series of trainings and different topics that we can hopefully get out to the chairs to really help them to continue to ensure that the local boards are, working effectively and not that they aren't, but just to really give them some additional information to help push this forward. So that will be coming out soon as well. And I think that those are great next steps for the whole system as we move forward. So that's all I have. Anything else? Our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, February 5th at 12 p.m. So 2 weeks from today. And that's it. So, oops, too far. So if nobody else has anything, thank you for joining again today, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.